Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Hess, one of the instructors for this course, along with my esteemed colleague who will introduce herself momentarily. I am a palliative care chaplain by background and currently working for the Catholic Health Association as the director of supportive care, meaning hospice and palliative care within the Catholic Health Association of the United States. I have letters behind my name, as do all of you. Please just call me Denise. And with that, I'll invite Jamie to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jamie Goldberg. I am a social worker by training. I was previously on inpatient palliative care teams at two different hospitals in Los Angeles before pivoting to being a full-time student now. I'm working on my PhD in social welfare, focusing my research in palliative care. And yes, please call me Jamie as well. Back to you, Denise.
So again, just a very warm welcome from both of us. We recognize that during this 8-week journey that we're going to embark on together, some of you might have looked at the title, even just the title of this course, and thought, oh no, or not me, or why me? And we recognize that everyone, each of you, are approaching this subject matter with very different backgrounds, professionally and personally, and very different reactions. And as we'll get into more in depth in the course, biases, and maybe even some areas of a little bit of countertransference. And if you haven't heard that term before, we will be getting into that and defining that shortly. We also recognize that for some of you, this is your wheelhouse. This is your bread and butter of what you do in your professional training, in your professional practice. And so with that kind of mixed environment, Jamie and I actually find that it creates just a fantastic learning incubator, if you will, for all of us, because we invite all of you, whether this is new to you and maybe something you're wishing wasn't a required course, or if it's very, very familiar for you, we invite you to stretch yourself, to move into this topic with the degree of comfort that feels right for you. So that will mean sometimes you will be sharing an expertise that you're bringing to all of us, Jamie and I included, a new perspective, an article, a learning that you've had in another context. We invite you to share all of that, because this is how we learn in this online environment, by kind of crowdsourcing our collective knowledge and experience. And also for those of you who have been in other courses in the program before, I hope you've experienced, and we hope you continue to experience here, that this is a community learning experience. And so as much as the assignments are geared around interacting, of course, with the discussion and assignment prompts and with Jamie and I, we really invite you to interact with each other. And that will mean taking the extra time to read each other's discussion posts and respond thoughtfully. And Jamie will get more into that in a minute. And it does not go without saying, so I'm going to say it, that Jamie and I are very, very protective of the space that we hold on the discussion boards, in particular in the cyber cafe, even in the announcements, that it is a safe space for all of us, again, to stretch ourselves, to maybe you might even find yourself being a smidge more vulnerable, a bit more personal sharing than maybe you've done in some of your other courses in the program thus far. But we want to assure you that our commitment is that this be a psychologically safe space, an emotionally safe space, and I would add spiritually safe space for people to bring their authentic selves. And of course, if at any time anything is not feeling safe to you, reach out to Jamie and I immediately, because that would be very important to us. We'd want to address that right away. Other than that, I think I'll turn it back to you, Jamie, for some nuts and bolts of the course.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Denise. Yes, we want this to be a really rich learning environment. And I'll go over some of the nuts and bolts of how we can achieve that. So first, I would like to invite you to please start with the Start Here tab on Blackboard. This is where you'll find the syllabus, the honey-do list, all of the information about textbooks and all of that. And that is the perfect way to be able to start and get organized. As many of you know, these 8 weeks really fly by. So taking a few minutes to organize yourselves now is really, really important. With that, just want to go over kind of some of the expectations for the class. I think many, if not all of you, have already taken classes in the program, and the format is very similar. So all discussion posts, initial discussion posts, are due Thursday at 11:59 p.m. each week. Responses to discussion posts, reflection journals, and assignments are all due by Sunday at 11:59 each week. And I know Lynn likes to say, and we embrace as well, as long as you get it into us by the time we wake up on Monday morning, it's fine. We also recognize that many of you are working full time. Many of you are working on the front lines. We know that this is an incredibly stressful time all around. And we want to be as flexible and supportive of you and your learning as possible. All we ask is, if you know that you're not going to be able to hand in something on time, please, please just send us an email. It would be great if you could send it to both of us so we're all on the same page. If you let us know in advance, I can promise you that we will be flexible and understanding and grant you extensions. It's just really hard for us to backtrack and be able to do that after the fact. So we know that everyone's stretched and this may not be at the forefront of your mind, but please, please, even if it's 5 minutes before the deadline, please just reach out to us and let us know what's happening, especially in this environment that we're in. We worry about you if we don't hear from you. We worry that perhaps you're ill or really just completely too stretched. So please just take the 30 seconds or minute that it takes to send us an email and let us know how you're doing and how we can be most helpful and supportive for you. I also wanted to give a plug for the Wise and Wonderful Wednesdays, which are just rich learning, another opportunity to connect with your fellow colleagues, fellow students, and many of the instructors in the program. It's kind of like a master session, so to speak, on a particular topic, lots of rich discussion, great questions, and just gaining some more knowledge. So I know that Lynn usually sends out an email with the Zoom link for those. And I believe they start every Wednesday of the semester at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I won't go through all the time zones. And those are recorded as well and available through Dropbox, I believe. So you can always look back at the old ones if you can't make it. I think that those were all of the overarching general announcements. And with that, I'll just jump in and give some nuts and bolts for the content of week 1. So for this week, we're really doing an introduction to psychosocial, cultural, and spiritual aspects of palliative care. So for discussion 1.1, we're going to ask you to explain why these aspects are so important to consider to someone who may not be so familiar with what palliative care is and our approach. Discussion 1.2 asks you to really think about the concept that Denise mentioned before, just countertransference, and how we are able to show up in an authentic way to be empathic with our patients and families while still kind of holding on to ourselves and thinking about how we can maintain appropriate boundaries. So those are the two discussion prompts for this week. And the assignment is directly based on the domains of palliative care that we ask you to read. That's in the required readings. And we're asking you to watch this video of a real patient who's talking about his own illness experience and thinking about what you're hearing and how that might fit into these various aspects of whole person care. I'll jump back to discussion 1.0 now, just to ask that 1.0 is your introductory post. It's letting us know who you are. It's really helpful to include where you are and a little bit of your background, your discipline, perhaps, anything that you would like to share with us that will be helpful for us in meeting you where you are as you are coming into this course. I think that those are all the nuts and bolts I have. Back to you, Denise.
So thank you, Jamie. And yes, I don't have anything to add to that. You've covered all the nuts and bolts. And if we haven't covered something, of course, I will say it again, please reach out to us. All questions are welcome. And I just want to close by echoing what Jamie has recognized, that not only are you embarking on a master's program in the midst of a pandemic, we recognize that many of you, the demands coming from your work life, your personal life are like never before for many of us. And so with that in mind, we just want to recognize that there is a level of suffering and of grief potentially that we are all bringing into this space with us. And so as we close, I just want to put out this beautiful quote that comes from Rachel Naomi Remen about this idea of being with suffering, because it will be a predominant theme in the course as we go through together. And she says, the expectation that we can be immersed in suffering and loss daily and not be touched by it is as unrealistic as expecting to be able to walk through water without getting wet. So we know we are all coming to this space, probably soaking wet with the amount of grief and loss that we are carrying with us. So take care of yourselves, use the materials for your own professional development, but we also invite you to use the course for your own personal formational development. And so with that, again, welcome, thank you, and we will see you on the discussion boards.
Here's to a great semester, everyone. Thanks.